So yesterday we covered a first day of arithmetic sequences. The main thing with arithmetic sequences is it's a pattern of adding and subtracting, and you have to find two things within the problem itself. What's called a sub 1, which is the first term, and d, which is your common difference. Now, the common difference is a little deceiving because it doesn't necessarily mean subtraction. It's either what you're adding or subtracting by in the pattern itself. And today we're talking about how it's connected to Unit 3, which is everything linear, which we introduced two things. Well, the connection between the two is the common difference is actually the same thing as the slope on an equation. So it's like your slope on a line versus your y-intercept is not the first term, but actually your zero term. So today we're going to kind of put it all together and introduce the linear equation. So with that, number one, and today you're also going to see where the trickiest can be is finding, again, the two pieces of information, our first term and our common difference. But if you look at my pattern right here, they started my sequence with the third term and the fourth term and the fifth term. So I have to myself figure out what the first term would be and the common difference. Now my common difference is easy enough because my pattern is going from 7 to 12 and 12 to 17, which means we're adding 5 every single time. And then my first term is a little deceptive because it's not always going to be given. So I have to figure out what my first term is. Well, if I know my third, my fourth, and my fifth, in order to find my first, I have to work backwards. Well, if I'm adding 5 every single time forward, to go backwards, I'm going to subtract 5. So my second term would be 7 minus 5, which is 2. My first term would be 2 minus 5, which is negative 3. So my first term would be negative 3. Think back how we wrote this yesterday. It's a sub n equals my first term, which is negative 3, my common difference, which is plus 5, n minus 1. And we used that yesterday to find our 100th term, our millionth term, and so on. Now, the difference today is something called our linear. Our linear is your y equals mx plus b, where m is my common difference. So m is the same thing as the slope, or d, your common difference is the same thing as the slope. And my b value, which is my y-intercept, is the same thing as my zero term. Well, I know my common difference is positive 5, so it's just going to be 5x. And my zero term is going backwards one more from negative 3, which means I'm going to subtract 5 again, which would be negative 8. And that's it. So if I lost you, let's do that again. I'm going to skip to number 3 and then I'll go back to number 2. So the following terms were given, arithmetic sequence. They gave me my second, my third, and my fourth term. Well, again, we need our first and our common difference. Our common difference is subtracting 7 because my negatives are enlarging. And my first term I have to find by going backwards. If I'm subtracting 7 going forward, I'm going to add 7 the other way, and so it would be positive 6. That would be my first term. So my formula from yesterday was a sub n equals my first term, which is 6. I'm subtracting 7, so minus 7, parentheses n minus 1. And then my linear, again, I need my slope and my y-intercept. Well, my slope is my common difference, so it's negative 7, and then my y-intercept is my zero term. Well, to find my zero term, I would have to go backwards again, which means adding 7 to 6, which would be 13. So my equation would be y equals negative 7x, and my zero term would be positive 13. So it's just another way to write it. Doing that again for number 5, so I guess I should have rearranged these a little. If I look at this one, it gave me the 4th, 5th, and 6th terms. My 4th is negative 26 to 5, which is negative 36. So my first term and my common difference is subtracting 10 because my negatives are enlarging. To find my first term, I'm going to have to work backwards. So my third term would be adding 10, which would be negative 16. Negative 16 would be negative 6, and negative 6 plus 10, which would be positive 4. So my first term would be 4. So my explicit would be a sub n equals my first term, which is 4, my minus 10, which is my common difference, and minus 1. Now, to find my linear, again, I need y equals mx plus b, where m is my slope, which is the common difference, so negative 10x. And then my zero term, which means I'm going to go backwards one more, from 4 by adding 10. So 4 plus 10 is 14. So plus 14 would be my linear equation. Okay, now let's talk about different ways they could ask these questions. Number 2, it says my 0 term is negative 10 and my second term is negative 4. So in order to do the explicit, I need my first term and my common difference. Well, my first term, they gave me my 0 term, and then they gave me my second term, which is negative 4. If you think about it, if my 0 term is negative 10 and my second term is negative 4, my first term would be somewhere between those. So from negative 10 to negative 4, that's what, 6 spaces, which means half of that would be 3, which means I'm adding 3 essentially. So negative 10 plus 3 would be negative 7. So my first term is negative 7. My common difference would be adding 3, which I determined by doing that little summation. So my explicit would be a sub n equals my first term, which is negative 7, plus 3, which is my common difference, and then n minus 1. Now to do my linear, I need my slope, my slope, which is my common difference, which is 3, and then x, my y-intercept, which is my 0 term. Well, this time they actually did give me my 0 term, so it's just minus 10. Look at number 4. It gave me my common difference and my fifth term. Again, to do explicit, I need my first term and I need my common difference. Well, my common difference, they essentially told me, is adding 2. And my first term, I have to figure out myself. So if I know I'm technically adding 2 going forward, I have to subtract 2 to find my previous terms, including my first term. So I'm going to subtract 2 from 19, which is 17. 17 minus 2 is 15. 15 minus 2 is 13. And 13 minus 2 is 11. So my first term is 11. So my explicit would be a sub n equals my first term plus 2, parentheses n minus 1. To find my linear, my slope, which is my common difference, is 2x. And then my 0 term, which would mean subtracting 2 again from 11, which would be positive 9. Number 6, my common difference is 8. My 0 term is negative 5. So I need my first term and my common difference. Well, they literally told me my common difference is adding 8 since it's positive. My 0 term is negative 5. So if I know I'm adding 8 to negative 5, that would make my first term positive 3. So my explicit would be a sub n equals 3, which is my first term, plus 8, parentheses n minus 1. And then my linear would be y equals my common difference, which is 8x. And then my 0 term, I would have to go backwards one more. Since I'm adding 8 going forward, I'm going to subtract 8 from 3. Yes. Nope. Yeah. I already have my 0 term. Oh my goodness, sorry. It's right there. It told me my 0 term is negative 5, so y equals 8x minus 5. So not the simplest, but at the same time, not the hardest because it's just connecting the linear to explicit. Just know when it's explicit, I need my first term and I need my common difference. When it's linear, I need my common difference and my 0 term, which is my y-intercept.